Hi, this is Luann Algoso, and you're watching Strength in Numbers. Today we're chatting with artist Earl Yi, who designed the album covers for both Drunken Tiger JK and Dumbfounded for the Strength in Numbers music project. Earl also creates the artwork for the comic book series The Adventures of the Galactic Wrestling Federation, which is also launching their own Kickstarter very soon. So tell us how you got started in your art career.
I've been drawing my entire life. It's something I always kind of wanted to do, but I never really went for it. Back when I was living in Boston, or Somerville more specifically, the local comic shop, Kamikaze, they used to do these monthly drinking draws. When it first started, I actually was lucky enough to meet some local artists who are professionals, like Ming Doyle and Erica Henderson, who are extremely talented ladies. And they just saw this doodle that I did. It was Sam Jackson, actually. I was drawing Sam Jackson as Shaft, and then I just added like an eye patch and like a caption that said like I'm 99% Shaft, you know what I mean? Because it was like Nick Fury or whatever not. And they saw it and they're like, "Wow, you're good enough to go pro." And I was like, "Wow," you know what I mean? Like that kind of blew my whole mind with that, you know what I mean? Circumstance sort of lined up and pushed me into it. I used to have a corporate job working for the man. My department was getting downsized, and then over here on the West Coast in Seattle, I had a friend who had a place open up in his apartment. So it was like, all these things were kind of lining up, and I was like, okay, I got this opportunity to sort of just like go out on my own now. Meanwhile, during all this, the one of the owners at Kamikaze, Bob Howard, he's actually the creator of the comic that I'm working on currently. Him and the guy who's the other writer, I'm blanking on his name right now because he uses a pen name for the book. But Max, he was going to be the original penciler, and they were actually going to get me to be the inker on the book. I did some test pages and stuff, and basically, the end decision was that I would actually take over the art duties completely.
That's great. And were you supported by your parents to pursue a career in art and specifically working with comics?
Not really initially, although kind of sort of. Like my mom's an artist. She's a painter, but she hasn't done it in years, raising us and stuff and having to hold down the job and whatnot. It's in our blood, you know what I mean? But like when I went to college, actually, I thought I would be responsible, and I was a psychology major, and I dropped out. That didn't work out. And my mom, she told me all the time. She was like, she's like, "Oh, you should have gone to art school. You should have listened to your mother." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know, I should have." She knows what I'm doing. My dad knows what I'm doing too. They both support what I'm doing currently, which is pretty cool. Especially coming from an Asian family, because you know how that goes. Like everybody that they know is like going to be a doctor or a lawyer or get some like business job. You know what I mean? So it's cool to have them supporting me in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that's great, though. I mean, especially when it comes to creative work.
Yeah.
Right? But I think it's great that you took, you're courageous and you went for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it helps also because I have an older brother, I have a younger sister, and they both have like respectable jobs, and they're doing big things. So it kind of takes the heat off of me, and I can kind of just like go and do my own thing because they're all set.
So you write in your bio that you're a creature of bad habits. I was interested in knowing what that meant.
It was a little tongue-in-cheek, but kind of just a lifetime of making regrettable decisions, kind of being a slacker. Like I said, like even the art school thing. I didn't go to art school or whatever not, and now I'm trying to do this art career. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, shit. This could have gone a lot smoother. You know what I mean? Doing a comic, or even without the comic, even just as the freelance art stuff, it's time consuming. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of time to create art. So this situation where I really have to be responsible and on top of myself and motivated has definitely been a little bit of an adjustment, breaking those bad habits and whatnot, and really just focusing and doing the damn thing.
I was wondering, because I was looking at the comic that you're working on right now, which is called
The Adventures of the Galactic Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
Mouthful, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be transparent, and I don't really read too much comic books. But when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is so detailed. Like all of the artwork. You do all the artwork, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of creative process do you go through to think of all of those concepts? Because it goes down to the very detail of like the smallest detail, like
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm curious about how that process is for you.
I really appreciate that, especially, as you said, coming from somebody who's like not really a comic reader. That's really huge. So thank you very, very much. But what it is basically Max and Bob get me the script. We'll go over it. I'll have some time to read it, and I'll do really, really loose thumbnail sketches of how I think like the layout of the page should be based on the script. Sometimes I'll want to add things or change things, for the visual storytelling. Like I think we should add a couple beats here to drag out this moment, what I mean? Things like that. But it's really a collaborative process, which is really, really cool. I'm again, very, very lucky to be working with the guys that I work with. Once I do the thumbnails, I'll then go and draft my pages, pencil them out and stuff. From there, I just do the line work. I ink the lines. And as far as the shading goes, I'll cut ink with water in varying degrees. I use that for that part. So that's all the physical art. Scan that all in, do all lettering, like edit the pages and whatnot. Max and Bob, I believe between the two of them, they have something like 70 characters. It's up there. It's a huge, ridiculous number of all these characters that inhabit this universe. They'll send me the descriptions, sketches if they have them, and then I'll do my own take, and we'll kind of go back and forth until we come to something that all three of us are happy with. But as far as like all the stuff in the background, I basically make it up on the page like as I'm going along.
That's an unknown world to me. So how did you get involved with the Strength in Numbers project?
I don't know why or how, but Chops had actually added me as a friend on Facebook, which I got all like fanboy and like like when it happened, because when I was a kid, obviously like the Mountain Brothers were huge. I was a hip hop head. I am a hip hop head, and when the Mountain Brothers came out, they were the first group representing our people in the game. You know what I'm saying? So being a young Asian American hip hop head, there was no way that I could not just really, really attribute to that and, just identify with that, you know what I'm saying? So time came, like Chop's birthday happened, and, I just, said happy birthday on Facebook like you do. I was doing a line there. I was like, hey, let me know if there's ever anything I could do for you. And not too long after, he actually sent me an email. I've got this project coming up. And then from there, he got me in touch with Keith. I was familiar with Keith because of this project that he works on called Secret Identities, which is an Asian American comics anthology. Mm-hmm. That was actually really, really cool, too, to kind of just see all these pieces falling together, and these cats who I knew of but didn't actually know, and now I know them. The three of us, we did New York Comic Con. We took the book in October. Keith was there also with the Secret Identities crew, so that was really cool to actually be able to meet him in person finally.
And where did you come up with the concepts for the two covers that you created?
Keith just shot me this list of who was available, and I'm very excitable about things that I'm passionate about. I saw Tiger Che on there, and same thing as Mountain Brothers. Korean music is very superficial in general. It's a very pop-driven society. Mm-hmm. But Drunken Tiger was one of the first groups that was really, really doing it. You know what I mean? I really, really understood what hip hop was. So I had a really, really early love of Drunken Tiger when I was a kid. So when I saw his name on there, I was just like, yes, that's the one for sure, absolutely. You see my comic stuff where it's kind of cartoony and broken down. I didn't want to do that for the project. I wanted to do something a bit more realistic. I did the JK piece, and I did, I believe, in purple watercolor. I actually did two takes. The first one, as I sat on, I wasn't too crazy about it. Chops and Keith were both happy with it, but I was like, nah, I can do better. So I sent them another one, and we were all pretty stoked on it. So that's the one that ended up getting put out. They needed a portrait for Dumbfounded because he had, I guess, about 3 done, and he wasn't too happy with any of them. So they asked me if I wanted to do it and kind of a more realistic style for this, but I still kind of want to make it a little artsy. He's on tour currently. He's going to be up here in Seattle the day after Christmas. So I hit him up over on IG. Is it cool if I come down to this show and give you the original art for that? Maybe we can puff a blizz or whatever. He's like, yeah, man, hit me up. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very excited.
And what does Strength in Numbers mean to you? Being part of this kind of project, and you also just mentioning right now, working with Chops and working on this kind of project was really meaningful for you. So
the scope of the project, where he was trying to elevate Asian American artists and kind of build a community, that's really the heart of it for me. Being able to contribute to that really had a great personal meaning for me. It was just a huge honor. It's tough being Asian American. It's a weird demographic to be a part of. We're not really represented in media. We're not honestly taken seriously. I mean, just look at how many games Jeremy Lin spends on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Like, despite his record, they keep him on the bench as much as they do. There's a lot of stigma attached with being Asian. So to be able to be part of a community that is about awareness and education is really, really huge. Kind of just full circle for me. It's extremely gratifying to be part of this project and be able to contribute to it.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm gonna flip the switch a little bit. I heard that you have a name for your beard. And, yeah, I mean, like right now, I'm looking at your beard and I'm like, wow, it's like really huge. Like it's probably the biggest beard I've ever seen on a
Yeah, I get it all.
What's the name? Why?
My beard.
How long did it take you to grow it too?
My beard's name is Koreanitis.
Oh, okay.
One of my friends kind of flipped it on me because he was telling me that it looked like Leonidas' beard from 300. So I was like, oh, Koreanitis, you know what I mean? That's where that comes from. The beard itself, it didn't really take too long initially to come in. But where it is now, I've been growing it I turned 2 years old last October. When I do comic conventions, it's funny because there'll always be one Asian dude who walks up and it's like, is that real? I'm like, yeah, brother, it's real. You know what I mean? It's real. Next thing they say guaranteed every time is, I can't do that. And I always say, I do it for you. That's why I do it.
It's awesome. What project are you currently working on right now?
It's pretty much all GWF currently. I'm in the process of drawing the 3rd issue right now. The Kickstarter we're going to be doing very, very soon. It'll be in the next couple days, but we'll be launching the Kickstarter to fund the last 3 issues. Yeah, just to help us be able to get it done quicker, faster, better. Also help us get it to more of an audience, which is really, really the great thing about Kickstarter, is that you have the ability to reach these people all over the world with your product. Doing this, I've learned a lot about the process of making comics, or a lot more about the process of making comics, and it's helping me develop my style more also.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
First of all, thank you to anybody that decides to give us a look. It's very, very much appreciated. The Kickstarter will be launching again in the next couple days. Beyond that, I guess, just remember the name, because I'll keep at it. As long as people have an interest in the things that I'm doing and they're feeling the things that I'm doing, I'll keep doing them. So just remember the name. That's all I can say, I guess.
And where can we find you online?
I do have DeviantArt and Tumblr. Both of those are under Sleep Dead Art, which is S133P Dead Art. I do also have an Instagram account, which I do update a lot because I'm terrible with that. I'm definitely that dude. But that one is just Sleep Dead. So you can keep tabs on me through both of those avenues. We do have a website for the comic as well, which is gwfcomic.com. There's a store on there for merch related to the comic as well.
I actually have one more question too before we sign out. What kind of message do you have for other Asian American, Asian Pacific Americans that are aspiring to do creative work, or work that is outside of the norm?
To anybody, and honestly, I think that this applies to anybody, regardless of ethnicity. But, also, to the Asian Americans, because we all know it is very, very strict upbringing, traditionally. Just keep your head up and do the damn thing. You know what I mean? Don't let anybody tell you what you're supposed to be doing, what the limitations of what you're capable of are. The only person that can tell you what you're capable of is yourself. Like I said, coming into this, I had to learn to be much better about my own time management and things like that. Really just get down and put in the work. And that's all it comes down to. If you do good work, you're consistent, you're diligent, you keep putting stuff out, people will eventually notice. So just keep striving, keep improving, keep producing, just keep putting stuff out there. Network, talk to as many people as you can. Also on top of all this, like, don't have an ego about it, because there's always going to be somebody better, and you always have something more to learn. Just keep a level head and keep doing work. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Thank you again for chatting with us today, Earl. I really appreciate it. I know our audience that's small but growing will really appreciate hearing more about your work as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for speaking with us today, Earl. For more information about Earl's work, check out the links below in the About section. This is Luann Algoso again for Strength in Numbers.